Everything Wellness Show. My name is Mark Dionisio, and this is the show where we discuss everything wellness. Now, this month is March, so we're going to be talking about nutrition. Now, when it comes to nutrition, we think of food. But what I want to touch on today is vitamins, supplements, and minerals. And actually, I have a very special guest with me here today. He's actually a doctor and the owner of Butterfield's Pharmacy and head pharmacist, Amir Rahimi. So I'm going to let him do some of the introduction. So Amir, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank Mark. Thank you for having me. So background in pharmacy, about 20 years in the pharmacy industry, and graduated in 2010 from Palm Beach Atlantic University. And I think sometime around then, I really started my own personal health journey and took a lot of interest in supplementation and nutrients above and beyond just traditional pharmacy. So super excited to jump into this today and get into some supplements.
Awesome, awesome. And if you don't know, Amir and Butterfields, they are our head pharmacy here for the county, which anytime I do a health fair event throughout our school district, Butterfields and Amir and some of his staff come and join me for all my events, or most of my events, and they are our go-to pharmacy. So we'll discuss that a little bit more at the end of today's show, but let's get into the topic today. So obviously it's Nutrition Month, but like I said before, I really want to touch on some vitamins, supplements, and minerals because I feel hand in hand, both of these combined are very beneficial for people. But there's some differences, right? And we want to understand and know which ones work good, which ones don't, what has, effects, accumulative effects. So first off, let's start with what are some of the primary differences in getting vitamins and minerals from whole foods as opposed to supplements?
Yeah, great question. So, I think if we look at kind of a 1-2 punch, right, whole foods is always going to be our go-to. So eating a good variety of meats and vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds are always going to be the best forms of vitamins and supplements, or minerals rather, and vitamins. And so, the amazing thing about food is it has more than just the minerals in it. So it's going to have a lot of phytonutrients, it's going to have different enzymes that really make those minerals and vitamins more bioavailable, which is just a fancy word for useful by the body. So my go-to is always nutrition, having a balanced diet, trying to get as high quality as possible.
Yes.
Organic when you can, but let's be real, not all of us can afford to get organic food. I've got 5 kiddos at home who eat like nobody's business, so we try to take targeted shots and just buy the best and highest quality food that we can. So nutrition, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But in reality, in all reality, there are still going to be supplemental gaps.
Of course.
Even when we try our hardest. And so I think it's just being smart about which supplements that we target and which ones are most commonly deficient amongst the broader population.
Perfect. And that actually leads me into my next question. Which vitamins and minerals are most commonly deficient in an average diet? And how can supplementation help with that?
Yeah. So, I've had the benefit of getting to see literally hundreds of lab results and patient records, and mainly from a kind of a police and firefighter standpoint for a population that I serve. And we look at broadly at, what symptoms they're displaying, what the blood work shows. There are a couple of items that commonly come to the surface, and ones that you wouldn't expect, especially here in the state of Florida. So probably the most common deficiency that we see amongst adults, at least, here on the Treasure Coast is vitamin D deficiency.
In the Sunshine State.
That would be mind-blowing for me, as a young pharmacy student, to think that anybody's deficient in the Sunshine State, right? But I would say maybe 9 years ago, looking at my blood work, I was personally deficient in vitamin D. And I'm somebody who prides myself on getting outside and doing the lawn work and exercising, but the reality is, if we're being really objective with ourselves, we spend a lot of time indoors.
Yes, we do.
And then what do? We run right from our work, our house, we go to the garage, we get in our car, we roll the windows up, condition the air, and we just don't get as much sun exposure as we might want. So I think vitamin D is a very common deficiency. From there, we look at the B vitamins, which I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about, and energy production and helping us feel really well. And the next would be magnesium.
Really?
I think we could probably confidently say that 50 to 70% of the U.S. population is deficient in magnesium, which can lead to a whole host of health issues and just performing in a suboptimal way. So I think those are the starters. We could look at things like vitamin A, D, E, and K, but traditionally a good multivitamin, or if we can really target some real good quality food,
Yeah.
we can take care of a lot of those deficiencies.
Nice, nice. And magnesium is really beneficial for sleep as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can get the right type of magnesium and actually get it into the central nervous system, it can really help to relax and calm the nerves. I take it every evening. So much confusion though around magnesium.
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be at least 40 different types.
Right.
And the average consumer, and I'll say even myself, even years after pharmacy school, till I really dug into the research and found the right type of magnesium to take for the right situation,
Yeah.
was confused myself in it. So patients are coming into Butterfield's every day. Hey, I should take magnesium. My doctor's recommending. Which one do I take?
Right.
And a lot of times I'll have a cashier or a pharmacy technician that'll run them over and just grab them a bottle. But the conversation needs to be a lot deeper around that.
Right. And of course, giving them the correct magnesium, as you know, you don't want to give somebody magnesium citrate who's looking to better their sleep. That would have the complete opposite effect. So we're not going to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And for those who don't know what magnesium citrate is, look it up. So it's funny you mentioned before the absorption. So that's the thing. Like some people are still deficient in vitamin D, for example. So you know there are other vitamins and things that we could take to help absorb these vitamins. Correct?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
can you touch on some of the ones that actually, the more the common ones that I would say help with these vitamins absorb within our body?
Of course, of course. So I always think of like the classic example. My wife has always been deficient in iron, right? And so right from the get-go, as we were looking to come into those childbearing years, trying to get her iron levels up, you know, we'd always combine it with vitamin C.
Yeah.
So whether it was a traditional iron supplement taken with orange juice, or now we even use one that's got iron and vitamin C included.
Oh, nice.
It can increase the absorption by up to 30%.
Wow.
Which is really amazing. And so that goes back to the nutrition thing. So when we eat food that's high in iron or vitamin C, traditionally you'll find those foods have those minerals and supplements that support absorption in there.
Yeah.
And our bodies become completely optimized, you know, for that food set. So what we try to do is recreate that in supplements, put foods or supplements together rather that mirror nutrition to
Yeah.
increase it. Other examples we can think of, you know, vitamin D will really increase calcium absorption, which can be a great thing. But if you're taking calcium supplements at the same time, that can block iron absorption or it can block magnesium absorption. So being really thoughtful about the timing of the vitamins can be really important.
Yeah.
And your pharmacist can help you through that, or your prescriber.
Or you.
Or
right?
me.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ask Amir. He will guide you in the right direction.
Yes, sir.
So we kind of briefly discussed vitamins B12 and whatnot, but let's kind of venture into micronutrients a little bit more. So what type of micronutrients play a better role in supporting like energy levels, for example, and boosting metabolism?
Yeah.
For example, which ones are more essential for optimizing performance?
Yeah. So I think when we talk about micronutrients, it's kind of important to define the terms, or at least how I define them, at least, right? So we talk about macronutrients, we're looking at carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, you know, which is a huge part of nutrition
Yes.
and overall health. But from a micronutrient standpoint, these are what we call cofactors. These are required molecules or minerals for the processes within our cells to work right.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to energy production, you've already called it, the B vitamins are the superstars of this class. If we want to take those macronutrients that our body has worked so hard to break down from our food and turn them into energy that we can use, you know, within our mitochondria, you have to have these B vitamins in place, and it generates a product called ATP, and I don't want to get too much
Yeah.
into the science.
Adenosine triphosphate, I believe,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You nailed it. But having a good variety of B vitamins will support that. And there's a lot of talk lately, I think, on social media and the news about folate, right? And
Yeah.
these individuals, I think about 40% of individuals in the U.S. have this gene mutation to one of the B vitamins, and so they're not able to methylate it properly.
Really?
And so what that can lead to is increased levels of homocysteine. And homocysteine is something that can drive disease states such as
Yeah.
cardiovascular disease, can even mess with your neurotransmitters, can affect things like mood, and even affect your ability to get pregnant or have children.
Oh, wow.
So taking the right type of B vitamin can be very important.
Yeah.
Now, in a perfect world, you could go in for genetic testing, right?
Right.
And you would know clearly whether you have this variation in the what they call the MTFR gene, right? And you would know the exact type of B vitamins that you need to take. For me, I don't have the resources to do that right now, and so I take a methylated form of folate. So that's one way that we can kind of hack the system with smart supplementation.
Yeah.
And your pharmacist can help walk you through that.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Now, I'll get a lot of questions because I'll do nutrition consultations throughout the district, and I'll get a lot of questions about probiotics and gut health.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously, if we're eating a whole food diet, one that's high in fiber, or we're taking a lot of supplements and vitamins in conjunction with that, we also want to know what probiotics are good for our gut health. So how do probiotics actually work, number one, and then does everybody need to take one, and if so, which would be the best one to choose?
Yeah, so the probiotic space is really fascinating right now, and trying to understand that everything that our gut actually does for our body. But if we think about it, our gut is lined with different types of bacteria and different types of fungi, if you will, and majority of them are very helpful to us. They do things such as break down our food to smaller nutrient levels that we can actually absorb. It keeps the good stuff going into the body, keeps the bad stuff out of the body. And some of the bacteria will even process the food and develop vitamins and minerals that are in a bioavailable form for us.
Oh, wow. I didn't
So
know
we
that.
have little supplement factories literally within our gut.
Interesting.
If we have the right bacteria there. And so when we're choosing the right type of probiotic, we need to think about what our goals are. And of course, we could do testing. Again, it's just not plausible for most people.
Sure.
So we say, hey, what's the best bang for our buck? What can we take to really maintain a healthy gut microbiome? So there's a couple that I take on a regular basis, and one that I'm really excited about to share. So there's a company called Pendulum, and they make a probiotic called Akkermansia. And so this is an anaerobic, just meaning that it survives without the presence of oxygen.
Okay.
But this particular probiotic actually helps your body to secrete GLP-1.
Really?
So there's a lot of buzz right now around Ozempic and Mounjaro and
Yes.
weight loss medications. These are what they call GLP-1 analogs. So it's something that we've made in the lab, so to speak.
Yeah.
And GLP-1 will help reduce appetite. Lower the appetite, the less you eat, and the more weight you lose.
Correct.
So there's actually probiotics that can do the same exact thing to help our body secrete its natural GLP-1. So the product's called Glucose Control. They've got a couple of really good studies that show up to a 10% reduction in A1C. And for anybody who doesn't know what A1C is, it just means your average blood glucose.
Right.
So if we look at, in science, we talk about all-cause mortality. It just means your risk of dying in any given year. And the individuals that have a lower average blood glucose have a lower risk of dying. And so if we really zoom out on this whole thing, the nutrition and the supplements, like, what are we really trying to accomplish?
Right.
We want to live our healthiest, best, longest life.
Absolutely.
We want to enjoy the company of our family, be there for the ones that we want to take care of. And so this probiotic that's lowering, your appetite level, it's lowering your sugar level, it's making you more sensitive to insulin, is really reducing disease presentation and progress over time. So that's a super exciting product. I've begun taking it myself. And I think I'm calling this like the next generation of probiotics. A very, very exciting time to see that kind of efficacy. But with probiotics, the one thing that I see a lot in my practice is people who are taking antibiotics.
Yeah.
I think people that are listening to this show, they're taking antibiotics themselves, their children are taking antibiotics. And if we think of the gut microbiome as a neighborhood full of different types of bacteria and fungi that are good and helpful, mostly, to our health.
Yeah.
When we take a probiotic, it literally goes in there and kills the bad bacteria that we're trying to kill within our body or within our respiratory system. But it is killing a wide variety of the good bacteria and fungi in our gut.
Yeah.
So if we think of a neighborhood that's been evacuated, 70% of the good bacteria, now the only guys that are left there are the ones who are not susceptible to antibiotics. And they're starting to move in, and they're building, and
Which
they're
over
growing.
time gets worse.
And they're overgrowing. So we'll see people that take an antibiotic that start to have random health conditions or seemingly random health conditions, digestion issues, gaining weight, potentially moving into a diabetic or pre-diabetic category where they never were before after antibiotics. So this is the biggest and most important time that you have to take probiotics. But I take a probiotic on a daily basis, 2 of them. One, Bacillus subtilis strain, which can be found in a lot of different products, but also now taking this glucose control with Akkermansia, which I think is just going to be a game changer. I got to get you on it.
I was going to say, I want to talk to you about it after the show.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think anybody who's really concerned about health and wellness and fitness, it's a go-to for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that after this. Now, I also too, not to mention, that's a safer, I guess, alternative as opposed to taking Ozempic shots or whatnot. Not that, everybody's going to try whatever they want to try, but I feel like that's a safer route, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the GLP-1s have been a game changer for people who have struggled with obesity for decades at times, or they struggle to bring their A1C down. But this has got to be a go-to must, step 1, before moving to take an injectable GLP-1s.
Nice. So now, you might get a little pushback from people that say, well, okay, so we're going to eat whole food diet and we're going to take all these supplements and vitamins. How much is too much, right? So obviously, too much of everything, an excessive amount of everything is no good for you. But there's certain lines to be drawn, especially when it comes to vitamins. I mean, obviously, if you take too much vitamin C, that can have a really bad side effect on you. So, can taking excessive amounts of certain vitamins or minerals lead to toxicity? And I'm sure you would say that yes, that they could.
Well, I think you nailed it. Everything, the details are in the dose, right? So whether it's food or medicine or supplements, whatever it might be, if we take what we call a sub-therapeutic or a too small of an amount, you're not going to get the desired effect. You're not going to get the desired health outcome from that. But in reverse, if we go to excess, which so many people do, if 50 milligrams is good for me, then 500 milligrams is great for me, is their mindset. And that's completely wrong. These vitamins can actually be toxic, at 5 and 10 times the recommended level. And so typically, that will present as, nausea or fatigue, potentially organ pain, within the liver. I remember early on in my career, I had an individual who was trying to boost testosterone levels. And so he was taking these really high levels of zinc, 10 to 15 times the recommended dose.
Wow.
And he just couldn't figure out why he was like itching and scratching all the time. He was having a bad reaction within the skin. So, if you're experimenting on your own, without a pharmacist or a prescriber, stick to the recommended dose on the bottles. Typically a very safe range. If you're going to expand or go beyond that, make sure you're doing it under the supervision of a healthcare professional.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Perfect. Now, how can someone determine if they actually need to supplement with something? And generally what I would tell, because I get that question sometimes, I would say definitely do your blood work through your doctor. Right? And then see what you're deficient in. A lot of people won't do that, and they'll say, they'll see a commercial and I need to jump on this, or I need to jump on that. So what would you recommend? Would it probably be about the same thing?
Yeah, it's a two-pronged approach, right? If you have the ability and the resources and the time, to go and see your doctor on a regular basis, take a look at the lab work, I think it can tell you a lot about what you are deficient in. And then furthermore, there's that genetic testing, right, that can even tell you how your body processes natural whole foods and where you may need to have targeted supplementation. And I think that's always the go-to, but you're right, a greater percentage of the population is going to try to go at it alone, or they're going to pop in and talk to a pharmacist, or they're going to talk to their friend or sister who's taking this thing and ask, where can I find this and how do I take it? So, I think we got to be smart and say, hey, again, what are people most likely deficient in? And where is there low risk in taking a supplement if we don't have targeted blood work? So, if we look at things like multivitamins, which there's a lot of questions about whether or not we need to take a multivitamin, and we could get into that. But again, things that are low risk, taking 5,000 units of vitamin D, there's not a great cost to it. It's unlikely that you are going to overdose yourself taking the recommended dose of 5,000 units of vitamin D on a daily basis. Magnesium, if you don't have any sort of kidney disease or severe kidney disease, you really can't overdose on magnesium. Again, different types, right? You could have some negative side effects from taking too many. But your body's relatively good at taking the magnesium it needs and clearing the rest. But there are other supplements like potassium, right? A very narrow therapeutic index. It can be very harmful to you to supplement or over supplement with magnesium or potassium rather, I'm sorry. Could have a very negative effect on the cardiovascular system that could literally put you in the hospital. So the potassium's one, like, hey, I never recommend potassium. If your doctor recommends it, if your lab work recommends it, great. If it's in electrolytes in small doses, of course. But being targeted, looking at low-risk supplements and talking to your pharmacist is always key.
Great. And now also, too, usually when somebody is deficient in vitamins or minerals, let's say they do their blood work and they're deficient in vitamin B12 and deficient in vitamin D and all these different types of deficiencies, I would always recommend somebody to try to get that through nutrition first before solely relying on just taking vitamins, right? Because it's easy to say, okay, I'm deficient in iron, I'll just go buy an iron supplement. I always say take the approach of maybe looking at your whole foods to see what whole foods would actually increase your iron intake, because your body's going to absorb it better from nutrition than it would, primarily just from taking a vitamin. So kind of touch on for me what would be like some of the risks on solely relying on vitamins and supplements for, for completing the deficiency.
Yeah, again, kind of highlighting what we talked about before, the absorption of pure supplementation is never going to be as good as getting it in whole food. It's never going to be as bioavailable to the body as taking it in whole food. With that said, will it work? Will it prevent disease? Yeah, you could probably, if you really wanted to run a diet of double cheeseburgers and French fries, you could probably get all the minerals you need from
supplementation. Sounds delicious, but yeah.
but it's not optimal.
Correct.
It's not optimal, right? And if we go back to the big picture, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to be our healthiest self so we can show up for, whether it's our coworkers or the children that we serve or the people in the community, our family. It's just not the most optimal way to do it.
Okay, cool. And that's what I figured. Then that makes total sense. So how can vitamins and supplements and minerals actually support physical and mental recovery from stress, exercise, or illness, right? That's a big question. A lot of people, if they're not feeling well or they might be slightly depressed or whatever, how can all of this help?
Yeah, well, you're the fitness and exercise expert there, so I'll rely on you a little bit there. But, when I think about specifically like individuals who are going to the gym or they're just having a hard or stressful day, they do a lot of physical activity, right away I'm like thinking of hydration, right? So electrolytes. So again, potassium, magnesium, salt, really hydrating the muscles to allow for that proper recovery.
Yes.
Again, I deal a lot with police and firefighters, some veterans too, or active duty military. These guys live in like a high stress pressure cooker all day long.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find for them is they struggle from headaches and they struggle to relax and unwind at the end of the day. So they're all hyped up from their shift. Probably a lot of crazy things have happened. Their spouse has gone to bed, their children have gone to bed, and they cannot shut their mind off and they cannot relax their muscles. And so back to magnesium, this has just been a complete game changer for them. And so we'll typically supplement them with 2 or 3 different types of magnesium, and specifically kind of getting into, making sure you pick the right one, but magnesium L3 and 8. And this is a form of magnesium that will actually cross the blood-brain barrier, which is just a fancy way to say it actually gets into the brain and central nervous system and can help to calm the mind and start to shut those systems down in a positive way, right, for rest and relaxation. At the same time, it's relaxing the muscle tissue, which can be extremely beneficial, and it can help to rebuild the bone structure as well. So as we're recovering overnight from whatever stressors we had during the day, I think proper hydration, magnesium, these are key, to getting a good night's rest and recovering and getting ready to go for day 2.
And that is the most important thing, I feel, is getting a good night's rest.
Absolutely.
Right? I think that not only helps with the whole body, but it helps with everything absorb into the body as well, because everything's relaxed.
And that's it. It's like zooming out. So it's like, it's nutrition, it's sleep, it's hydration, and targeted supplementation. So you nailed it.
Absolutely. And also, too, just want to touch on real quick, if you're dehydrated or know somebody who's dehydrated, don't just give them water. Make sure to put a little bit of salt in the water or some type of electrolytes. They'll actually that'll rehydrate them a lot better than just drinking water.
Yep.
Somebody drinking a lot of water will actually put themselves into the flushing mode, and they'll actually dehydrate themselves more.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great electrolyte packets out there. I
Yeah.
try to find something without sugar, and then honestly, I've just gone to a really good, like organic, highly mineralized sea salt.
Yep.
At the end of the day, put a pinch of that in my water in the morning, in the afternoon, or even right before I go to bed. It does a great job at hydrating me.
Great. Now, I see you brought a lot of items with you. I see an egg over there. I don't know if you were going to serve me breakfast, but...
Well, they're expensive. You know, I had to pay you somehow, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, would you like to go through, there it is, the most expensive supplement we offer today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go through some of the stuff that you brought and kind of explain, what it is.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the egg because this is probably, from a food and nutrition standpoint, the most mineral, vitamin dense product on the planet, really. So we talk about the incredible edible egg, I think was their marketing tactic at one time. But so many vitamins and minerals in here, I literally had to write them down. So let me just run through it real quick. We've got vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B7, B9, B12.
I feel like I'm playing bingo.
I know, right? Iron, zinc, selenium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, iodine, copper, manganese. I mean, the list goes on and on. And the protein,
all in that little egg.
All in that little egg, right? And the protein content, which I know you're a big protein guy, is incredible. Healthy fats, and if you're lucky enough to be able to get some farm fresh eggs, they're really high in omega acids, which are great for inflammation throughout the body and health and recovery. So if there was a natural multivitamin supplement, the egg would be it. So I had to bring this egg with me.
Well, I appreciate it. Yep. And also, to be very careful, you don't want to break it.
That's right. I'm having this later.
Also, I noticed when you eat eggs in the morning, for example, or just any time, it keeps you fuller longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though the content of protein is not extremely high in an egg, but for some reason they are extremely filling, and they will keep you full for a long period of time.
Yeah, I think on what I call my perfect day, right? So we all have that perfect day in mind from nutrition and sleep and exercise. And my perfect day, I'm always having 3 eggs to start my day. Whether they're hard-boiled or pan-fried, typically hard-boiled. I'm on the run.
Yeah.
I think it's just a fabulous start to any day and a fabulous jump-off for minerals and vitamins on a daily basis.
Nice.
Yeah.
But what else did you bring?
Cool. Yeah, so I brought a couple items just from my personal supplement stack. On most days, I do take a multivitamin called Force Multiplier.
Okay.
There's a lot of great vitamins out here. This is one that works well for me. It's a combination of small amounts of all the essential nutrients. So again, we're not getting everything from the multivitamin. We're primarily focusing through nutrition.
Yeah.
But in case I miss, in case I accidentally go to a fast food restaurant later today,
this fills in all the lines. Yeah.
It'll fill in a lot of the lines
or
for
the blanks,
me.
rather. Yeah.
In addition, it's got omegas and a blend of probiotics in there.
Nice.
We talked about magnesium and taking the right magnesium. So again, a lot of great magnesium supplements on the market. This is a triple blend of magnesium, including magnesium L-threonate, biglycinate, and malleate. So the idea behind this one was we want to calm the central nervous system. We want to calm the muscles and help aid in recovery and bone strength in one product. Now, magnesium, you mentioned mag citrate earlier.
Yes.
That is great for digestive movement, right?
Correct.
So keeping you regular. This magnesium is highly absorbable and typically won't produce those same type of results.
Yeah.
For individuals who are looking to regulate bowel movements, magnesium oxide, a fabulous option. It's very inexpensive. I think it runs on the order of 10 or 11 bucks, and it can keep you regular on a daily basis.
Interesting. And what is that called again? Magnesium?
Magnesium oxide.
Oxide, okay.
Yeah, and it's available from a bunch of different companies. And again, it runs in the $10 to $12 range, and that'll probably get you enough for 30 to 60 days.
Nice.
I take another product called Testfire, but the idea is really the ingredients behind it. So within that, we're going to have vitamin D and vitamin K2. So vitamin K2 is important for shuttling the calcium into the bones to build strong, healthy bones for this muscle that we're carrying.
Yeah.
It also shuttles calcium out of the heart, right? So for good cardiovascular health. We know vitamin D increases calcium absorption, which is great. Then we want to put the calcium in the right place in our body.
Right.
It also has DHEA, which can help drive testosterone levels, which is really important for men and women, believe it or not.
Yes.
and is a 41-year-old man who's starting to realize the realities of lower testosterone
Sure.
and the ability to keep muscle on and keep fat off. This is a great way for me to help boost that. And then ashwagandha, at the end of the day, I just feel better when I take ashwagandha. I've got a better general sense of well-being. It's worked well for me. So I keep that in that product. And I want to be clear, I'm not perfect at taking these supplements.
Sure.
I wish I was. I wish I was that guy who was so regimented and always takes it. And I just try to build it on to other habits that we do. So when I make coffee in the morning, I'll take a couple of supplements, and then before I go to bed in the evening, I'll get my wife's and I supplements out, and we'll take them together.
There you go.
When I'm feeling sick or I'm around sick people, I will take immune support from Holistic Health. So it's got vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, N-acetylcysteine, elderberry, lysine. I don't take it all the time. Just when everybody around me is getting sick,
Sure.
or if I'm feeling I'm starting to run down. Great product from Holistic Health, a group of doctors in the Northeast.
Yes, great for a lot of teachers and staff too, because we're working
100%.
around a lot of children that carry a lot of bacteria and
You guys got to be
viruses
constantly
and stuff.
bombarded
Yes.
with somebody in the classroom is always
Always,
sick.
yes.
And parents try to do a good job. I know they try to keep their children at home, but there's the reality. Like they've got to go to work, and,
Yes.
and they can't take the day off,
That's right.
So, immune health. On a daily basis, I take Probaxtra. So this is a Bacillus subtilis strain. It's done a great job at just keeping me regular. And honestly, I have not fallen ill to sickness since COVID, which is probably going on 4 years ago. Yeah. But yeah, this is my go-to probiotic, but it's not the one that I'm the most excited about right now. So I told you about the glucose control from Pendulum. And so this is it here. It's Akkermansia, actually.
Okay.
And so this is like a pro bottle. So the ones that you would buy in the store look a little bit different.
Yeah.
But this is that probiotic that actually stimulates GLP-1 release, can lower your blood glucose levels. And they've looked at people who have naturally higher levels of Akkermansia in their gut. They just tend to have less disease and better health. So I just don't see a future where this is not a huge part of my regimen.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that one.
Yeah. And then kind of based on some lab work, I had some high liver enzymes. And so I've actually started taking this company a dose. And so it's a blend of turmeric and dandelion root and milk thistle and ginger powder. So again, always better to get these things within your diet. I don't always have time, and dose is kind of a cool product.
And that's why they call it a supplement for a reason, right?
Absolutely.
A supplement.
Absolutely. Now, I love Indian food, and so Indian food has a lot of those spices worked into it. So we'll make a good tikka masala like every, 14 or 21 days. I love it. It's a time-consuming process, right? It takes me an hour and a half to make a good, from-scratch tikka masala with a lot of those spices in there.
Yeah.
And this, I can take a small dose every day and make sure that my liver is not inflamed and is operating at max capacity.
Awesome.
And then the last one that I do on a daily basis is just some Baja Mineral sea salt. I told you I take a pinch of it and just put it in my water in the morning and evening. I've probably had that bag for 6 months. I mean,
Yeah, you don't need a lot, right?
This costs you almost nothing, maybe $15 or $10 to buy it. It will last you and your family all year long. And the great thing about this particular sea salt is that it has 70 plus minerals in the sea salt formula itself, as well as keeping you hydrated.
That's fantastic.
Yes, that's my personal supplement stack. It's always changing and evolving. I try to have blood work every 6 months. It's like pie in the sky. It's probably closer to every 11 months.
Yeah.
And then I'll work with my prescriber, right?
Yeah.
Say, hey, what are you thinking? What am I thinking? What are the products out there? And we'll make little micro adjustments.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for sitting down with me today and discussing all of this. But before we go, I just want to have you discuss, what's going on with Butterfields. And, again, like I mentioned before, Amir comes to, or his staff comes to most of my health fair events throughout our district and provides our staff with most of their immunizations. But,
yeah, absolutely.
But go ahead, just let the county know what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. So we are very grateful to be able to come to all of the health fair events. Whether it's myself or another pharmacist, we are here to help you navigate immunizations. Which immunizations are right for you, which ones are absolute necessities, which ones are highly recommended, and which ones may not be right for you based on your individual risk factors. And so whether you come to a health fair clinic at the school or just come into Butterfields, we can help you on any day of the week to make those type of decisions. You know, above and beyond that, we have a really thriving anti-aging, healthy, you know, developmental living practice at Butterfield. So we talk a lot about supplements. We work very closely with a lot of functional medicine doctors who are kind of taking a different approach, right? So instead of just managing disease states and progression, we're trying to reverse or prevent disease states from happening. And it's been a really just exciting time in pharmacy. So like we are keeping people on the right path to health and wellness and being proactive. And nutrition plays a huge role in it. Supplementation plays a big role in it. Exercise, right? And I lean on you a lot for exercise advice every clinic. Like, hey, what are you doing? What do you think of this? I'm sending you different workout routines and being honest with you too about what I'm actually accomplishing and doing and whatnot. So we also fill traditional pharmacy scripts. So whether it's for high blood pressure, cholesterol, antibiotics, you know, I could probably confidently say that we're the friendliest and fastest pharmacy here in Port St. Lucie, and we deliver. So we deliver to Martin County, Port St. Lucie. We've got a secondary location up in Vero Beach now. It goes under a different name, Perkins Pharmacy, but we're really trying to spread out and serve the entire Treasure Coast area. Nice. So we're trying to bring back that old school pharmacy mentality of knowing your pharmacist.
Absolutely.
And just making sure you get the best care. Where, you know, traditional pharmacy is kind of going to moving you in and out, talk to you through an app, come through the drive-through, don't talk to the pharmacist, don't bother us, sort of thing. So, you know, it's been a really exciting time and exciting practice. And for anybody listening, we'd love to just serve you and your family. That'd be amazing.
I switched over to you, so you're getting all my services. And it's great because it's not only local business, and supporting local businesses is, to me, very important, but you're right, there's a very like family-orientated atmosphere there where, you know, I know the pharmacist, I know you, I know your staff, and it's really nice, and it's good to give back to the community too as well.
Absolutely, and you know, a couple of the other big things that we do, we service a majority of all of the individuals with Treasure Coast Hospice, and so that's really a passion project for us. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you know, taking care of people as they're coming on board with hospice, as their conditions are changing. We're right there getting the orders, filling them, and delivering them directly to patients. So it's a huge part of what we do over at Butterfields, and probably one of the things that we're the most proud of to serve that area here in the county. And then, you know, we do a lot of bioidentical hormone replacement, so helping people to age in a healthy way. And we've just got a variety of practitioners and prescribers that we work with. If it's something that people are interested in, we can get them plugged in with those providers so they can really get on the journey.
And that's very helpful.
To health and wellness. Because the unfortunate reality of life is after we pass the age of 35 or 40, our natural hormones, they really start to decline pretty rapidly.
Yes.
And science has been pretty clear by properly replacing hormones within the body, we can put disease progression off and really live that best and healthiest life into our 80s or into our 90s. So that's been an exciting thing we're working on as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining me today. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
For everybody out there, I hope you gained a lot of information through this show. And you can find Amir, Dr. Amir, at Butterfield's Pharmacy. And we'll see you on the next one.